everyone. Keith here with another Mid-South adventure. Today I'm at the Meriwether Lewis site on the Natchez Trace Parkway. Everybody pretty well knows the story of the Lewis and Clark expedition. Maybe you're not as familiar with the end of Meriwether Lewis' life. After the expedition, Thomas Jefferson made Meriwether Lewis the governor of the Upper Louisiana Territory. And Thomas Jefferson was pretty fond of Meriwether Lewis, and after the administrations had changed, a new president came in, and Lewis got into a little bit of a jam with vouchers that he was sending in as governor of the territory, and the administration and the War Department didn't seem to want to reimburse him for those vouchers. So Meriwether Lewis had left St. Louis and was on his way to Washington, D.C. He went down the Mississippi River to the area around where Memphis is now. He originally had planned to go on down to the Gulf of Mexico and sail around to the East Coast and get to Washington, D.C. But apparently changed his mind and got off there at Fort Pickering, I believe it was, near where Memphis is now. And after staying there for a while, decided to make his way overland, going up the Natchez Trace to eventually wind up in Washington, D.C. to try to take care of this situation with the vouchers. Now, Lewis was somewhat of a troubled man, and it had some, well, let's say issues. He apparently was an alcoholic, and on his way up the Natchez Trace, he got here to this area where there was what was referred to as Grinder's Stand. It was like an inn that travelers along the Natchez Trace would stay at, and he was staying there overnight. And apparently, during the middle of the night, the woman that was running Grinder's Stand, Miss Grinder, her husband he had gone out somewhere, was not there. He was on a hunting trip or something. And middle of the night, she heard a couple of shots coming from the place where Lewis was staying. She heard one shot, and that frightened her, and a little bit later on, she heard another shot. Well, the next morning, they found Lewis dead. He had been shot in the head once and been shot in the stomach and the abdomen once. And it was pretty well decided then, the opinion was that he had committed suicide. And it wasn't until a few years later that the theory that maybe he was murdered came up. And today, even till today, some people still think that he was possibly murdered here. This was, some people thought was a pretty dangerous part of the country to be traveling up and down the Natchez Trace. That, there were people here who would attack you and rob you along the way. So that's where we're at today. October 11th, 1809 is when they found Lewis dead. And of course he is buried here, and so we're going to go and check all this out. Apparently this is a recreation of the cabin that was here. It says sites and ruins of the Grinder House. I don't know if out this way is... Yeah, there's something here. I suppose that's some of the ruins from it. That is a very old tree there. Marker for the Natchez Trace. The Natchez Trace, a very old trail, was traveled by many early Americans. Captain Meriwether Lewis, leader of the Lewis and Clark expedition and governor of the Upper Louisiana Territory, died near this point in 1809 while traveling the Natchez Trace to Washington, D.C. with his de-expedition journals and accounts. In 1843, the state of Tennessee created Lewis County in his honor. In 1848, erected a monument over his grave. We'll go there in a minute. The Natchez Trace played an important role in its service to the American military. General Andrew Jackson troops traveled the Natchez Trace to engage the British during the War of 1812. This marker was placed by the Tennessee Society of the National Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, in 2006. So we're gonna walk a little bit of the original Natchez Trace to get up to where Meriwether Lewis gravesite is. And I'm not sure which way to go. I'll go a little ways down this way, and if it doesn't look like it's headed that way, we'll come back. And I don't believe it is. This circles back around where I was from in the beginning. Really is neat, because when you're walking this, you're walking the path of history through here. The number of people back in the day that traveled this. Peaceful here. Okay, we go this way, then we'll take a right up here. I think this up here really actually looks like, yeah, this is more like the original Natchez Trace was. Look how sunken down it was. That was just a pathway leading up to here. This is the Natchez Trace we're standing on right here. Kind of muddy. It's overcast day. Not too bad temperature and humidity wise. There are campgrounds as part of this site. Those of you that like to camp. And this is just right off the Natchez Trace Parkway. I didn't come down the Natchez Trace Parkway to get here, but it is just off the Natchez Trace Parkway. You see the signs that tells us we just came off the old trace. We'll go check out this marker over here. Natchez Trace. This plainly visible, though long deserted road is a section of the Natchez Trace. Evolved from buffalo and Indian trails into the first national highway of the Southwest. Cut and opened under authority of the United States government after treaties negotiated with the Chickasaw and the Choctaw Indians in 1801. Designed to meet early necessities of trade between Nashville and the country of the lower Mississippi, it is a abiding footprint, the bold, crude commerce of the pioneers. It is an abiding footprint. Yet it is not without military significance. In the history of our country, over it passed a part of Andrew Jackson's army in his campaign against the Creek Indians in 1813, and again on his return from the battlefield of New Orleans in 1815. But before Talladega and New Orleans, before the soldiers of Jackson had given renown to the Natchez Trace, it received its immortal touch of melancholy fame when Meriwether Lewis journeyed over it on his way to Philadelphia to edit the story of his great expedition, where he met his untimely death on the night of October 11th, 1809. It says Pioneer Cemetery. I suppose there are other burials here besides Meriwether Lewis then, but they don't seem to be marked. This is the monument where Lewis is buried, and you see that it is a broken shaft, which is supposed to represent a life cut short. I can't read that all the way up there. Does say Meriwether Lewis has his birth date and death date on it. I think this monument was put here in maybe may correct me if I'm wrong, I'll try to look it up again. I think maybe the 1840s or close to 1850. I'm not sure what this is supposed to be. Is that supposed to be, it says Kathy F. Spears. I don't know if that's supposed to be somebody that's buried here. I mean, it looks like, it says Pioneer Cemetery on the sign out there, and it looks like it could be marking a grave. I don't see any others right here like that. Okay, this answers the question I asked a while ago. Meriwether Lewis, Meriwether Lewis, 1774 to 1809. Beneath this monument, erected under the Legislative Act by the state of Tennessee, AD 1848, reposes the dust of Meriwether Lewis, Captain, United States Army, Private Secretary to President Jefferson, Senior Commander of the Lewis and Clark Expedition, Governor of the Territory of Louisiana. In the Grinder House, the ruins of which are still discernible, 230 yards south of this spot, his life of romantic endeavor and lasting achievement came tragically and mysteriously to its close on the night of October 11th, 1809. The report of the committee appointed to carry out the provisions of the Monument Act contains these significant statements. Great care was taken to identify the grave. George Nixon, Esquire, an old surveyor, had become very early acquainted with the locality. He pointed out the place, but to make assurance doubly sure, the graves was reopened and the upper portion of the skeleton examined, as such evidence found is to leave no doubt of the trace of interment. So they did intern his remains when they put this monument up to make sure that they had the right spot. I found another marker that's, hold on, Zelda Hayes Lawton. See, there's another one. They're kind of covered up by the grass. Zelda Marie Bishop. Yeah, there's several of them here. I can't make that one out. There's another one. Yeah, I didn't notice them. There's several out here. They're flat on the ground, and the grass is kind of growed up. Quite a few. Makes you wonder what the date on all these different burials was. Oh yeah, there's a lot of them out here. John T. Hale. Yeah. This whole area right here is got quite a few burials in it. It's, the sign said, a early pioneer cemetery. This is inside the cabin. I'm back on the original Natchez Trace now, walking down it. I would encourage anyone that's never been here to come here and check this out. And if you do make a trip here, get out of the car and come over here and walk down at least a little bit of the actual remains, the actual Natchez Trace that's still here. You know, it's kind of neat to know that you're walking down this path that so many travelers traveled back in the day. And so I'd encourage anyone that they might come here to get out of the car, take a little walk down through here. It's not that, you don't have to walk that far. Believe me, with my knee, I'm not hiking miles and miles. It's just a short path. You can see behind me right there, back that way is the cabin, and that's where I'm parked at. So you walk, no more than a couple of 100 feet to get back here, and then you can just walk ever how far down here that you want to. And it's historic, and it's very beautiful and peaceful back here. I'll turn the camera around and you can see what's in front of me. There. That's the what's in front of me, headed down. I don't know how far this would go back here. Maybe a little ways back that way. Anyway, and you can walk all back in there too, along the path of the old Natchez Trace, here in the area where Meriwether Lewis sadly met his death. It is still debated amongst some people. You can find some other YouTube videos that talk about whether or not he committed suicide or whether or not he was murdered. People have different opinions about it. Seems that one point about it is that they seem to think he shot himself in the head first, and apparently was just a grazing shot and knocked part of his skull off, and then some, I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes later they heard the second shot, which is and I don't know how they know which shot came first, but apparently they think that the shot to the head was the first one, that he was still able to shoot himself in the stomach, which is where he finally bled out before they found him the next morning. So that's a mystery that I don't know that anybody will solve. Some of the descendants of Meriwether Lewis still to this day would like to have him exhumed and try to figure out whether or not he might have been murdered instead of killing himself. I don't know how they're going to be able to tell that, if they did, but apparently National Park Service wants no part of that, so that may never happen. So if you liked this video, found it interesting, please hit the like button, and we hope you'll subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification little bell too, so that whenever we make a video, you'll know about it. So until the next Mid-South adventure, so long everyone.